I hope all of you are learning good English. This is a series on small talks. Today we have an actual practice session of small talk on the hobby gardening. Already I have told you how a small talk is carried out by giving you 5 important tips on the video small talks tips for learners of English. If you see that video first and then see this video, it'll be very useful. You are watching many videos for learning good English on this channel, Sumita Roy's English Classroom. I have already told you that every video helps you to learn something. So in this video also, you will get an idea of how you are supposed to improvise your small talk. The conversation is about a hobby, and that hobby is gardening. I gave you various areas in which we can have small talk. So here you meet a person, maybe only an acquaintance, not a stranger, not a friend, but only a person you know slightly. And you talk to this person about what you have heard about that person. So you begin by saying, "Hi there." Hi there. Somebody wanted intonation. You see, hi there. That is the intonation here. Heard that you love gardening. Now, not a full sentence here, not a grammatically constructed sentence, only a phrase. Heard that you love gardening. Now you're talking to a person you don't know very well, but you have heard this person likes gardening. So the other person feels quite happy and says, "Yes, that's right. I have a small terrace garden." Now, no need to say this. This is how conversation is carried out. This is how small talk develops. It develops if you answer in more than one. For beginners, this is a very important point. If somebody asks you a question, don't answer in one word, yes or no. Please add a couple of sentences. So you see, heard that you love gardening, answer yes. Then that's true, that's right. Again, addition. Then some more addition. I have a small terrace garden. You see how many additions are being made here? First answer yes, and then two additions. You are right, and I have a garden. What kind of a garden? A terrace garden, that is on the roof. Interesting. The person who said, I heard that you love gardening, now says, interesting. What do you grow there? Now you have to continue the conversation. Please understand, you have to continue the conversation. There are two ways, I already told you, two ways in which you can continue the conversation. One is by asking a question, and the other is by commenting or adding your own experience, your own point of view. Suppose you are also a gardener. Here you could have said many things, but instead you say, what do you grow there? You want to know what is there on the terrace garden. Now the other person is very happy to tell you because the person loves gardening. You love gardening? He says, yes, I love gardening. I have many evergreen plants. Now, evergreen plants, they are always green. They have nice leaves. I have a couple of hibiscus plants and some rain lilies. Hibiscus, beautiful flower which comes. And rain lilies, small flowers. So this, he says, evergreen plants, hibiscus, only two of them, couple of hibiscus, and also some rain lilies. We don't know how many, but some plants of rain lilies. Oh, I love hibiscus flowers. What color are yours? Now, see how the conversation is being carried out. As soon as the person hears about hibiscus, the person says, I love hibiscus. Now, hibiscus is there in many colors. So, what color are yours? Our hibiscus flowers are red in color. Our hibiscus flowers are red in color. So the answer is given. Now, that is not the end of the small talk. You cannot end the conversation here. So, there was another flower mentioned, rain lilies. So, the person who started the conversation, who started this small talk, says, and the rain lilies? Now you are asking, what about the rain lilies? Now look at the intonation. I have some hibiscus and some rain lilies. It's flat. What about the rain lilies? Question, where you have a rising tone. They are pink. Now see statement again. They are pink. Hibiscus is red, rain lilies are pink. But rain lilies bloom only. See now additional information. This information was not asked. Only color of rain lilies was asked. But this person loves gardening. So if you start a person talking about what they love, then you have the small talk. So you have to first find out what the person likes, what the person would like to talk about, and then you start the small talk. So the moment you catch a person who loves gardening, whose hobby is gardening, and talk about gardens, then you get a lot of ideas and your small talk is very, very interesting. That is what is happening here. So the person who loves gardening says, but rain lilies bloom only if there is heavy rain for many days. Hibiscus comes all the time, but rain lilies don't come. If they have lots of rain, then it comes. Now, this is an interesting piece of information which the other person finds very interesting, he says. It must be a tough job maintaining all this. Now, my hobby is not gardening, so I find that it must be very difficult for you to maintain all these plants. What do you do to maintain these plants? Now you see, the other person loves doing it. So when you love doing something, it is not difficult. It is only when you don't like doing something that you find it difficult. So it says you find it tough. Not really. You find it tough? Not really. First thing in the morning, I water those plants which need to be watered daily. So, see how now description comes with daily routine. What do you do? I don't find it difficult at all because first thing in the morning, I get up and I water only those plants which require water every day. Daily, I have to water some plants. So I water them every day. Basil is one, hibiscus is one. These need water every day. So this person waters. Most of my plants need water only once a week. Now he said he has evergreens. They have thick leaves. So you need not water them all the time. They store the water and then you can water them only once a week. So this information, the person whose hobby is gardening is giving. He's saying that I only water them once a week. Cool. The person who's asking the question says, cool, that's interesting. That's, so nice. You don't have to do it every day. That's so good. And do you need to put them in the sun? Will the plants get spoiled if they are in the sun? Will the plants get spoiled if you put them in the shade? This is again another question. So you can imagine comments, questions. This is the way the small talk goes ahead. You must remember this. Some of them, yes. He says, do you have to put them in the sun? Yes, some of them. I also have a few indoor plants in my collection. They don't need much sunlight. So I have some plants which need sunlight. Others don't need sunlight. Now see how you can easily make out that this person loves the plants, loves gardening, and therefore he knows a lot, he or she knows a lot about gardens. And it says that some plants need sunlight, some others don't need sunlight. What do you do with them? Your terrace must be getting too much sun. You said you have a terrace garden that is on the roof. So the direct sunlight falls there. Then what do you do? How do you protect your plants which you don't need sunlight? I keep them in the living room. Now, notice, not only are the plants in the terrace garden, but some of the plants are inside the house also. They're supposed to be very good because the plants give out oxygen during the day, which is what we breathe. So, the more greenery you have around, the more you can breathe freely. You can breathe an air which is not polluted. So, gardening is wonderful. And now you're getting to know so much. Small talk can be so interesting. You can see how much we are getting to know just by talking to this person. Gardening seems a good hobby. So, after hearing all this, the person who started the conversation says, gardening seems a good hobby. That means I should also get interested. Gardening is a very interesting hobby. The person who loves gardening says, gardening is a very interesting hobby. The plants need care. I enjoy looking after each one of them. It's almost as though the plants are the gardener's friends. If you talk to the plants, if you sing to the plants, they say that the plants respond very well. So maybe the gardener is trying all this. The person whose hobby is gardening loves all the plants. And he says that I enjoy spending time with the plants. Gardening is supposed to be very therapeutic. Therapeutic means good for health. Therapy is treatment. So all your troubles, all your stress, all your difficulties go away when you spend time with your plants. That is what he says. I you know love looking after each of them. I think I will take some pointers from you when I plan to have a garden. So the person who started the small talk is now making it very useful also. He says, I will take some ideas from you when I start my garden. There is so much to learn. Now, see, compliment. I will take advice from you, and I find that you know so much. There is so much to learn means he's complimenting the other person, he or she, by saying that you know so much. I have to learn from you in order to start my own garden. That is a wonderful thing to do when you are carrying out a small conversation. A small talk is run by questions, compliments, comments. The comment is given, gardening is a very interesting hobby. I must learn, I think I will learn more about gardens from you. All these are comments. So, this is how the conversation goes ahead. Small talk helps you to develop ideas for a conversation, how to carry on the conversation. I have given you so many pointers in this short conversation. So now, he says, there is so much to learn. The person whose hobby is gardening says, true, some people have a plot of land where they can lay a garden. I only have my terrace, but some people have open land. There they can have a garden. The other person says, okay, that is also possible. That means he's saying. First, they test the soil to see if it is fertile. You can't have a garden if the soil is very rocky or if the soil is very sandy. Not all plants can grow there. So, first, the person who has a plot of land has to test the soil. Then they choose what they would like to grow. Obviously, you have to plant the seeds or plant the cuttings of whatever you want to grow. Some people want a flower garden. Some people might want a fruit garden or a vegetable garden. You might want a combined, a garden which has different kinds of things. So it all depends on that. Those who want to grow vegetables can choose some which are easy to grow. Now, first, when you're starting a garden, choose something which is easy to grow. Like something like tomatoes. Very easy to grow, not difficult. So you grow them and then you find, or you have cauliflower or cabbage, which comes only during the season. So you can grow those. You can also grow okra, that is lady's finger. These things can be grown easily. You can grow bitter gourd, very easy also to grow. So many possibilities are there. Of course, these are not mentioned because this is a small talk only. It's not a long talk. The long talk will come later. This is like an introductory talk where one person knows about the garden, the other person says, I must learn from you. So he says that you know so much about gardening. Let's meet when both of us are free and talk about this. See, they make a plan. The small talk is an introduction. They make a plan. Whenever we are free, let us meet and let us talk about gardening. You know everything. I don't know, but I want to know. That is what is given. It is very important for you to get the non-verbal messages also. It is not enough for you to only understand the language, the words, or the English which is used. You must understand what is being conveyed without using words. So here the person is paying you a compliment by saying you are very good at gardening and I must learn from you. It is very important for me to learn gardening from you, and therefore we must meet. So they are planning to meet for a long time. Here they will have a serious, long conversation. It's like the teacher and student. The person whose hobby is gardening is going to teach gardening or give all the tips of gardening to the other person. So the other person says, we must meet. But when shall we meet? When both of us are free. Because hobby can only be carried out when you have free time. You cannot take up a hobby when you are too busy. You must have a little free time. So the other person is very eager and says, done. Done means, okay, I agree. I will spare some time. I will tell you when I have my free time, and then we can talk about gardening. Now you see how this small talk is going to help you. The first point which you have to remember is that why is a small talk important? A small talk is important because you get to know more about a person when you have a small talk with that person. You want to know people because all of us love social life. Human beings are very social. Therefore, we need to have social communication, social conversation, social interaction. And this happens when you get to know others. So, what is the way to get to know people? By small talk. You must choose for small talk what you think the other person will be interested in. Somebody told this person that such and such a person is very interested in gardening. So, this first person who starts the small talk comes in search of the person and starts by saying that I heard that you like gardening. This was only a beginning. Now, suppose the person says, sorry, I'm not the person who loves gardening. It is my sister or my wife or my mother or my father or my son, anybody who loves gardening. Then the conversation comes to an end. Two sentences. I heard that you love gardening. Sorry, I don't like gardening. It is somebody in my family who loves gardening. Then you can carry on the conversation by saying that could you introduce me to the person who has laid such a beautiful garden in front of your house? Then you carry on the small talk with the person whose hobby is gardening. Because today's video is on the hobby gardening. We are talking about small talk for gardening. Now, gardening is a hobby, so we need to be interested in that hobby. By your actions, by your words, by your verbal and non verbal messages, you must indicate to the person whose hobby is gardening that you are interested in what he or she is telling you. So, your listening skill should be good and your ability to observe should be very good. You should be able to observe the other person and see whatever you're saying, that person is enjoying or not, that person is responding or not. Is that person uncomfortable in responding? Is that person hesitating to respond? Now, in the conversation I gave you, there was no hesitation. If the person was asking one small question, the answer was in two or three sentences or in one long sentence with so much information. When a person is giving you information, that shows that person's interest. A person who shares information tells you that it is an area of interest for that person. And that is what we found in that conversation. I tried to give you that conversation to tell you what is the way in which the small talk progresses. How does the small talk go forward? The small talk progresses, or the small talk goes forward by questioning. What color is your hibiscus? And what about the rain lilies? And what kind of plants require sunlight? What others don't? What do you do with those which don't? All these are questions which get you information. So when you get information, the small talk is going forward. We are interested in taking the small talk forward. Then another thing which takes the small talk forward is how interesting. Okay, I like that. I think you love gardening, or I think you know so much about plants. Complimenting or commenting. I want to learn more about gardening. I think I will also have a garden. These are your comments. So either you can say good things about the garden, or you can say your own ideas about the topic which is being discussed. Keep the context in mind. What is the situation in which you're talking? You're talking about plants. We all know after global warming how important plants are. So you should have that excitement to talk about plants. The person who's asking is also interested, and the person who's gardening is equally interested, if not more. This level of interest shows you that it is a successful small talk because the context is perfect. One person loves gardening, the other person wants to know about gardening. So that is a perfect context which we have. If you have to get all the information by pulling it out forcibly, that is no small talk at all. People should help each other to carry the small talk forward. That is why I told you in the beginning that answering by saying just yes or no is no progress for the small talk. If anybody keeps answering all your questions by saying yes, how long can you ask a question? How long can you go on prolonging the small talk by questioning without getting information? You will lose interest and you will say, I don't want this small talk. I want to, stop this completely. So when somebody is making an effort to ask you some question, you must answer it with equal interest. You must choose an area which interests you. Or you say, I don't know. Suppose somebody comes and says, do you like gardening? You say, I know nothing about plants. Don't end the conversation there because you want a small talk. You have met somewhere and the person is asking you, is your hobby gardening? You say, no, I know nothing about plants, but I love. And then you say, what is your hobby? You say that my hobby is knitting or stitching. Now you say, that other person says, oh, what is that? How does one do that? Then you can describe, and the other person asks you questions whenever you stop. Remember that small talk should not be like a, you know, essay, 20 sentences at once. That is no use. It is not a small talk at all. It is like giving a lecture. So we cannot have that. You see the example I gave you of small talk? Nobody is saying more than two sentences at a time. One person is saying one or two sentences, the other person is saying one or two sentences. And that is how short sentences with so much information. At the end of those few sentences, we got so much information. So you did this, you carried it out because both of them are listening to each other carefully. Both of them are participating by contributing one or two sentences, not one word answers. And both of them have found that they are interested in this area. That is how small talk is carried out. The maximum occasion for small talk is when you meet people. Suppose you meet your colleagues for the first time when you join a company, there is need for small talk. Every morning you meet a person and you spend 2-3 minutes talking to that person. You meet in the lift or you meet in the car park, you meet in the corridor, and you carry out a small conversation till you reach your workstation. You get to know so many people by this small talk. That is the example I gave you, that to get to know these two people, you have this small talk. So the person who asked the question, now we know, wants to have a garden of his or her own. It might be a man or a woman. She or he is interested in having a garden. And therefore, the questions make sense because you want to know for your own benefit. The person who loves gardening, the person who enjoys gardening as a hobby, gives information very easily. Does not say, I'm not going to tell you because my garden should be best, and if I share my secrets, your garden will be better. That way, you cannot have a conversation. When you have these many negative ideas, then you cannot have a small talk at all. We know this person loves gardening and loves sharing what he or she knows about gardens with the other person. In this way, small talks are successful. If you practice a small talk, if you practice this series of small talks, which I will prepare for you, you will get a lot of benefit. For the beginners, the sentences themselves are beneficial. Now, for the advanced learners, for the others, for the beginners who are becoming better every day, after watching, more than 100 videos, I'm sure all the beginners have become excellent. You began 6 months back as a beginner, and now you have become excellent. So, what you should do? You should choose some other hobby. Some people have a hobby of creative writing. Every day you write something. You write a short essay or you write a short story. You write an incident. You write your diary or you write poetry. You write for a newspaper, etc. Some article. You write a book review. These are all possibilities. Movie reviews, many people write. These are all possibilities. Then you can talk about your own hobby in this short talk format. You have a friend, or imagine that you have a friend, and have a short talk on your own hobby. You choose the hobby of somebody else. Somebody else tells you that their hobby is social work. They go and help people who need help. They might give help in the form of food or clothing, etc. They might give help in the form of education, or supporting the elderly, educating the adult learner, all these kind of help. Or they might give help by taking them into some organization, giving them a livelihood, giving them a job, teaching them how to do a job. So many possibilities are there. So you have two people. Imagine that there are two people when there are not actually two people. You might be alone, but you create these short talk formats. You create the structure like I gave you for gardening, and have 10 different short talks on 10 different hobbies. If you can do this, then you will find that you will never have a problem with short talk when you meet somebody. A small talk in any situation, a difficult situation or an easy situation, you will be able to carry out these short conversations. Small talks are very, very useful, and these help us to learn the language better, to become confident in the language. So please do that. I wish you all the best, and thank you.